Welcome to Trader TV. This week, your weekly insight into how trading desks navigate market conditions. I'm Joe Gallagher and I'm joined by Shweta Singh at City Different Investments to discuss the macro factors driving fixed income markets and primary issuance this summer. Shweta, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
What are the biggest macroeconomic forces shaping fixed income activity and credit spreads over the next few weeks?
On the fiscal front, August 1st was a big trade deadline. However, we are still seeing trade deals that need to be negotiated with important trading partners like China, Canada, and Mexico. But of note on the fiscal front is that we are seeing tariff revenues creep in. For the month of July, this was around 25 billion. And for the second half of the year, this number should go higher. Moving on to monetary policy. Last week of July, the Federal Reserve met. What we're seeing in the Federal Reserve are two camps emerging. One that is fearful of tariff-induced inflation, and then the second camp that is worried about a weakening in the labor market. In the second camp, we see Governors Waller and Bowman that were advocating for a 25 basis points rate cut. However, the wait-and-see camp prevailed and they left rates untouched. 2 days after the Fed met, the labor market numbers were revised dramatically to the downward side. So now the labor market weakness has sort of foreshadowed the inflation piece in the economy. Fed's favorite inflation measure, core PCE, is still higher than its 2% mandate at 2.8%. The third leg of the economy is really growth. Q2 numbers for this year came out at 3%. This is a big swing from Q1, which came out at 0.5%. Now, the US consumer has stalled in spending, and that is because of the nervousness and the uncertainty surrounding the fiscal picture.
How do you position your portfolios in conditions that are sensitive to market swings and variable data signals?
So at City Different Investments, we are total return managers. That is to say, we take risk only when we are getting paid to take this risk. And we accomplish this by tracking a bunch of different metrics: slope of the curve, credit spreads, real rates, curve allocation, so on and so forth. I'll give you an example to illustrate how we think through this. As of last Friday, 5-year Treasury is yielding 89% of income of a 10-year Treasury bond. So you're only taking 50% of duration risk and getting close to 89-90% income. And this measure historically has been around 77%, and it's a 0.66 standard deviation event. What all this says is really 1 to 5 year part of the curve is where we are seeing value, and that's where we are overweight. Now let's jump down to volatility and how the second half of the year is positioning right now. In the Fed's futures market, for September, we are seeing somewhere between a 90% probability for a 25 bips rate cut. This comes down in October to a 66% probability for a 25 bips rate cut, and for December, around 80% probability of a 25 bips rate cut. Now, how would I crystallize it into our portfolio? We are staying midpoint neutral in terms of duration, so we can be nimble if there's a curve steepening, or just to take advantage of changes in different metrics for the second half of the year.
Munis issuance tends to be slow during the summer. Why is this summer different, and where can trading desks capitalize on opportunities?
So this summer has been like no other for munis. For the months of June and July, we saw 50 billion plus in terms of issuance. For year to date, we've seen 300 billion plus. This is 20% higher than last year. But here's the staggering number. If you look at 5-year trailing issuance average, this is 55% higher. So big muni issuance for the first half of the year. What I actually don't know is how would this play out for the second half of the year in terms of issuance? Was issuance front-loaded? But our take here is that what is unique about the muni market is the 210 slope. As of last Friday, that's somewhere around 83 basis points, much steeper than the Treasury 210 slope, which is around 53 basis points. If that persists, this is a trend that we can take advantage of in the next couple of months.
Thank you, Shweta, for your insight, and of course you for watching. This has been Trader TV This Week.